share your
Yes.
screen.
Okay, great. Hello and good morning to you. Actually, this is the afternoon in Iran. I'm very happy to be with you, and I look forward to to welcoming you soon in Iran when the the issues restrictions related to COVID-19 are lifted, so that we can have physical forum in Iran the next time, hopefully. Okay. First, I would like to thank the organizer and also yourself for giving us this opportunity to learn and hear fruitful and informative discussions related to topics and activities related to CSD business. And my name is Farhad Morsali, and I'm working in Central Depository of Iran. I mean CSDI. CSDI is the sole CSD in Iran. That is the central CSD in Iran, and that serves as the registry entity in charge of safekeeping, clearing, and settlement of all the exchanges in Iran. Actually, we have 4 exchanges: 2 equity exchanges and 2 commodity exchanges. So I'm sure this is not my homework to present our market. I'm going to talk about Sukuk very soon. Because I don't know if I should present the presentation or the administrator over there will present the slides.
If you are able to share your screen and present the slides.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how to share my screen.
No, there is a green button in the bottom of the screen.
Got it.
You can can open first. You can open your presentation, and then you can demonstrate. Yeah, that's correct. We see your presentation.
Okay, great. So
go ahead.
Today I'm going to talk about Sukuk, and as I was asked to talk about this topic from the very basic issue, so I needed to tell you about Islamic finance, and I'm sure that you are completely familiar with this topic, but I'm going to talk about the basic issue, because as far as when you talk about Sukuk, you need to know what Islamic finance is, what is Islamic idea about finance. As most of the attendees are Muslim countries, so I'm going to talk very quickly about these items. In Islam, as we have different sects in Islam. We have Shia, and also we have Sunni. Okay, and we have also jurisprudential attitudes toward what we do in Islam. We have some schools of legal issues. By jurisprudential issue I mean legal issues. So I'm going to talk about what we what we practice in Iran as a Shia country. Basically in Islam we have 2 important references for whatever we do, okay, regarding finance, regarding investment, regarding economics, whatever we do, personal, I don't know, family life, whatever. So the second issue, when it comes to contracts in Islam, when we have a contract, okay, neither it be economic contract, social contract, verbal contract, for example, a promise between 2 people, for example, when you get married. Okay, what we have in Islam is that any contract which is signed between 2 parties must be Sharia compliant. Okay, what is Sharia? Sharia actually is a set of Islamic principles and rules that govern every aspect of our life. Okay, so we need to consider these principles and aspects and guidelines in our daily life and in every aspect of our living. And the second principle in Islamic contracts is that whenever there is a contract, the base point is that the contract is valid. The base point is that the contract is valid until there is a breach, there is a clear breach of Sharia in the contract. Okay, this is the second principle. And the third principle in contract is that whatever we promise, whatever we have, okay, as a written contract, as an official contract, unofficial contract, or verbal agreement between 2 people, okay, we must follow it. Okay, we have to obey and keep the promise. Okay, as I have put one Islamic verse from the Quran, we say it means that we must obey and we must keep our promises. This is very important. And the next one is that we have 5 general principles in contracts, and Sukuk is as I need to tell you that Sukuk is a contract. Okay, so we need to consider 5 principles in contracts, and that is the first one is that we should be careful about, akd mal be batil. Okay, what is it? It means that any wealth, any gain, anything that you get, okay, from your business must be fair, okay, must be valid, must be halal, okay. You shouldn't cheat anyone. You shouldn't, I don't know, steal anything, rob anyone. This is very important in Islamic finance. The second one is that zarar va zirar. It means that you shouldn't harm anyone in the contract. If there is a contract between you and another person, there shouldn't be any harm, okay? So this is very important. The harm could be to the party, to the environment, to the society, whatever, okay? There shouldn't be any harm. And the third one is qarar. Qarar, what is qarar? Qarar means uncertainty. It means that in any contract, everything must be clear, okay? There shouldn't be any complication. There shouldn't be any, ambiguity in the contract. Everything must be clear. And the fourth one is gambling. In Islam, we don't have any sort of gambling. Gambling is forbidden, okay? And the last one, which is very important, and that is the most important difference between Islamic, economics and non-Islamic economics, is about riba. What is riba? That is interest. That is charge interest or usury. It means that, for example, if you borrow money from somebody, if you lend money to somebody, could be individual lender or borrower or institutional borrower or lender, there shouldn't be any charge interest. For example, if you get a loan from the bank, okay, or from somebody, you borrow money from somebody, you shouldn't actually charge that person, or that you shouldn't be charged, any interest at the beginning of the, borrowing. I mean, you must not mention it in the contract. This is very important. And so because these are some general ideas, so I'm passing very quickly. And the next slide is talking about Islamic contracts, in terms of obligation. When it comes to classification of Islamic contracts, we have two types. The first one is revocable contracts and irrevocable contracts. What is irrevocable contracts? It means that when there is an irrevocable contract between two parties, none of the parties can revoke, can delete, can cancel, nullify the contracts, okay? Unless there are three conditions. The first one, both parties agrees, okay, to the nullification of the contract. The second one is that there is a breach of the conditions of the contract. For example, there are some conditions, stipulations in the contract. If there is a breach of one of them, the contract can be nullified or revoked automatically. And the third one, if there is a pre-specified or pre-stated option in the contract that one of the parties can cancel the contract or revoke the contract based on some conditions. And the second type is revocable contracts. What is that? Any party, in the contract, can revoke the contract at any time. This is another type of contracts. So now we come to Islamic finance. What is Islamic finance, and what is the difference between Islamic finance and non-Islamic finance, or conventional finance, as we call it? The most important feature of Islamic finance is participation, is cooperation. It means that when two parties come together to do something, a financial action and investment, there should be participation. It means that they should share both the profit and the loss, okay? And this is very important. In conventional finance, for example, in bond, when you hold a bond, you don't care about the issuer of the bond, okay? And you get your interest and go away. But in Islamic finance, you share both the profit and also the loss. And we call it profit and loss sharing basis, or PLS, and that is participatory partnership. And the second one, as I told you before, there is no charge interest. You just share the profit or markup, okay? But just one point, remember, sometimes, for example, you borrow some money from someone, okay, and you do some business, and then your business becomes successful. As a gift, remember, as a gift, you can pay extra money to the lender, but as a gift, you shouldn't stipulate it in the contract that you should pay more. But at the end of the contract, because you're willing, out of your willingness, you pay as a gift, okay? This is also one issue. Now we come to to the point of Sukuk. And what is Sukuk? First, let me tell you something. Sukuk is Islamic bond. Okay, the bond that we have in conventional finance is Sukuk in Islamic finance. Okay, so what is it? Actually, Sukuk is an Islamic financial certificate, which is similar to bond, but it complies with Sharia. I mean, the rules of Islamic finance. So what is it? It means that the issuer of the Sukuk actually, issues the Sukuk and sells it to the, investors, and the investors actually, when they lend this money to the issuer of the Sukuk, the issuer goes and buys an asset for the company, okay, and the investor shares an ownership from that, asset. Okay, this is important, and any proceeds, any returns that comes from that asset is shared between the issuer and the lender. I mean, the Sukuk holder. This is important, and I will tell you in one slide the differences exactly between Sukuk and bond. And the third, definition is that the issuer must also make a contractual promise. This is very important, to buy back the Sukuk at a future date, at the maturity, I mean, at par value, exactly, at face value. I mean, exactly the face value of Sukuk must be paid to the Sukuk holder at maturity. Remember, you can sell the Sukuk, okay, before maturity, and it will be valued based on the value of the asset which is backing the Sukuk, okay? So, what are the functions of Sukuk? Actually, Sukuk is a very attractive and interesting, means of financing, and issuers can actually finance their operational, issues or expansion of their market, and they can expand their business by issuing Sukuk and go and buy machinery or land, whatever. And it's a profitable investment for the people that invest in that. And actually, it is a very good, a strategy for liquidity management. If you have extra liquidity, you can go and invest in that market. And also, it is a very good, tool for risk management. I should tell you that the risk of default or credit risk or default risk is almost, nothing in Sukuk. Okay, when it comes to Iranian actually market, we have never had, any sort of default in our Sukuk market in the history of, Sukuk issuance in the Iranian capital market. And also that is very good for fair wealth distribution. Why? Because companies can finance their projects and attract money from, households or companies and issue Sukuk, and they go and expand their, businesses. And when they expand their businesses, they can contribute to the betterment of economy in the country. So that can help the economy as well. So in a nutshell, when it comes to bond and Sukuk, I have, prepared this table. You can see bond versus Sukuk. So I will go through them one by one and explain what they are exactly very quickly. But bonds have a fixed interest. Remember, bonds have a fixed interest. As I told you, interest is forbidden in Islam and Islamic, economics. But Sukuk are Sharia complying, avoiding riba. Okay, I will explain in the following points. Bonds indicate a debt obligation, but Sukuk indicate ownership of an asset. It means that when you buy actually bond, or when you invest in bond, you in fact lend the money to the borrower, and that is debt obligation. But in Sukuk and in bond, the issuer can go and do whatever he or she wants with that money, and the lender doesn't care. The lender doesn't care in bond. But in Sukuk, the money that is borrowed from the investors must be spent on buying assets and spent on the expansion of the business. And the assets, important point, the assets must be Sharia compliant. For example, a company cannot issue, for example, Sukuk for opening a casino, I don't know, for gambling purposes. But the activities, the assets must be completely Sharia compliant. But in bond issuance, we don't care about the purpose of the issuer. And when we come to valuation of bonds and pricing of bonds, we care about the credit rating of the issue very much, okay? Based on the, international credit rating agencies such as Fitch and I don't know, the other ones that we have. But in Islamic finance, Sukuk are, priced based on the assets, that are backing them, okay? This is important. If the value of that asset goes up, the value of Sukuk also, goes up. So there's a direct correlationship between the value of the asset and the value of the Sukuk. And the next one is that profits from bonds correspond to fixed interest, making them riba. But
hello. Yes, it seems that there were some technical issues and we lost connection with you.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened.
Probably this is the internet connection, something with that. So you can go ahead with your presentation, just share the screen once again, and so we will be glad to hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, yeah, I don't know how I can bring it down. Okay. So as I think you heard these points, right? I finished this table.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I will go to the next table. So then we come to types of Sukuk, and basically for types of Sukuks, we have two general classifications. The first one is not-for-profit Sukuk. It means that the purpose of Sukuk contracts is not for gaining, returns or I don't know, profits. That is for not for profit, okay? For example, for humanitarian purposes or helping people or charity, issues. And the first one is Qarzul Hasaneh, as we call it in Islam, okay? It means that non-interest bearing, contracts. It means that, for example, you lend money to somebody or you help somebody with some money and you get the money, exactly the same money that you lend somebody, you get the same money, okay? And that is one contract. And in Islamic banking system, actually we have this Qarzul Hasaneh, issues. And the second one is Waqf or endowment. It means that, for example, you have a piece of land, you have, for example, home, or you have, I don't know, a shop, and you prepare a will and you write down, if, for example, you die after your death, or even when you are living, you leave it to humanity, okay, for general purposes. For example, you say that I don't know, poor children can have, for example, some share from your I don't know, shops, or you give it to the government to put it for public purposes. That is called waqf. And the ownership is belongs to that group, not you or somebody or your kids. And the second type of sukuk is profitable instruments. It means that the purpose is gaining profit. And then we have actually two classifications. I know this may seem a little bit boring, but I will tell them very quickly. So the first one is actually profitable instruments with a specified rate of return. It means that at the beginning you have the contract, you mentioned the return in the contract. So we have different types. We have murabaha, ijara, manfaat, istisna, or salam. And murabaha is that the seller and the buyer agree to the cost and markup of an asset. It's an accepted form of credit sale under Sharia. It means that it's mostly for doing some businesses, and you mentioned the cost and the markup, the profit of an asset, and then you mentioned how much you should, for example, own the profit and how much the second party actually owns the profit. And ijara, as you can see, if you know Arabic a little bit, it means lending and leasing. It means that you enter into a contract. For example, a company issues ijara sukuk, okay? And when they raise money, they go and buy an asset. They go and buy, for example, a piece of machine. For example, in Iran, one of their airlines, for example, the real case, issued ijara sukuk for buying some aircrafts. And the owners of aircrafts, were not the company, were the holders of the sukuk. And after the maturity, the borrower, the airline, okay, the airline gradually paid, the ijara or the rent, and at the end, the airline became the owner, okay? this is another contract. And then we have manfaat. Manfaat, it means that you have actually a property and somebody actually enters into a contract and gets the property, not the ownership, just the return from, or the profit that is gained from that property is owned by the second person in the contract, and then you share the profit of that property. Then we have istisna. Istisna is for example, you order somebody to create something for you, and then you pay the fee for making that item for you. And also we have salam. Salam contract is something like futures derivatives, but the difference is that at the beginning of the contract you pay the entire cost and the delivery is in the future. Okay, in futures you pay just one part, some parts of the contract, but in salam contract you pay the complete actually cost, and the delivery is for the future. And then the second type for profitable instruments are those sukuk instruments that have actually expected rate of return. It is not a specified or stated rate of return, and that is mostly for partnership or musharaka as they call it. So we have musharaka, a form of joint venture or partnership contract. You enter into a contract with a business, for example, and they say they will start the business and they will, for example, share. If they make profit, they will share the profit. If they don't make profit and they have lost, also you share the loss. Okay, this is an investment. And then we have muzaraba. Muzaraba is, as you know, that is for example, I bring the money and you bring your expertise. Okay, and then we share the profit and also the loss if there is loss. Okay, so the wealth from me, the investment from me, the expertise and the profession from you. And then we have muzara. Muzara comes from farming, and if you have a farm, you can lend it to someone and someone can work on it. And if there's a crop, there's, for example, I don't know, any agricultural products, and then you share the profit from that agricultural product. If there is no product, if for example there is lack of rain, I don't know, there is drought, then nothing, nothing for any of the parties. Then we have musaghat, which is the last one. That is mostly for gardens. Okay, if you have a piece of garden, you can lend it to someone, and then that person can work on the trees and water the trees. And if there's fruit, you can share the profits from the fruits. If there is no fruit, nothing. Anyway, so I know the limitation of my time, so I'm coming to some real statistics related to sukuk in Iran. Just one point I need to tell you, unfortunately, because of international sanctions and also because of some restrictions that we have imposed upon us by the US and some Western countries, unfortunately, our statistics are not published by Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, or other data vending companies. So you can't find these, unfortunately, statistics through data vending companies, but you can find them through WFE, World Federation of Exchanges, or FIAS, for example, or IOSCO, if you know IOSCO. You can find these statistics there. Anyway, as you can see, we have the value of outstanding sukuk in Iran that you can see, almost $49 billion outstanding sukuk. And as you can see in the parentheses, we have never had any defaults in sukuk that we have. That's the reason that's a very safe investment, Islamic compliant and safe investment. And as you can see at the bottom, we have different types. We have treasury sukuk. Treasury sukuk is something like T-bills or T-bonds or T-notes that we have in conventional finance, but we call it treasury sukuk because the issuer is the government through the central bank or ministry. And then we have, I'm sorry, there is a problem with this, pie chart. The left side that we have 100% is not correct because there is a point here and the chart automatically has been, modified in that way. So you should consider the second, part of, pie. Anyway, this is number of outstanding sukuk in each type by March 2021. March is the beginning of New Year, actually, in Iran. Anyway, so as you can see, the classification, mostly they go to Murabaha, sukuk. We have had Murabaha sukuk more than the other ones. And then we have sukuk classification based on type of issuer, governmental issuers, treasury sukuk, or non-governmental sukuk, or corporate sukuk. For corporations or companies, and municipality or munis that we have. I mean, the local governors, issue that, and mostly they belong to governmental, sukuk, and the rest, belong to municipalities or non-governmental, as you can see. Anyway, so then it comes to CSDI. So what does CSDI do in this field? As you know, CSDI, the main roles come to pre-trade, trade, and post-trade. In the pre-trade, section, CSDI is in charge of registration and depository points, and that actually manages the risk in that way. And then it comes to risk, to the trade, that is, CSDI manages the risk for transferring of the ownership, clearing and settlement, and these issues. And as you know, in CSDI, we have a fund which is called SGF, or Settlement Guarantee Fund. And if there is a problem, then we can use the resources that we have there, and we can manage the default risk or credit risk in that way. And as you can see, our roles here in this slide. Then I need to tell you that CSDI has one actually subsidiary company. Actually, CSDI is the main shareholder of this company. 49% of the shares of this company belongs to CSDI. So CSDI is the main owner. So that the company's name is Central Asset Management Company. And the website of this company is sukuk.ir. Sukuk.ir. IR stands for Iran. Actually, it was established in August 2010, and that's for managing and also controlling and taking care of SPVs, or special purposes vehicle. I mean, the issuing of sukuk, and the companies that want to choose, the issuer basically choose one company for issuing the sukuk, and that's SPV. So Central Asset Management Company takes care of that, and everything that relates to SPV is done by this company, and it manages the risk, potential risk of issuing of sukuk, default risk, I don't know, or credit risk. I mean, the main risk that we have here, liquidity risk that we have. This company actually manages these risks by, for example, having collaterals, or I don't know, scrutinizing the financial statements and reputation of the issuers and everything. And at the end, I have prepared two slides related to international, actually, sukuk. And as I told you, because we are sanctioned and under embargo by some governments, our statistics are not included here. Anyway, as you can see, the uprise trend of issuing of sukuk, as you may know, Luxembourg and England, which are non-Islamic countries, and they don't have actually Sharia in their countries when it comes to their transactions, are two major countries for Islamic finance. Luxembourg and England. So that is becoming interesting even for non-Muslim countries. And the last slide, that is then actually the top 10 sukuk issuers by amount issued by 2020. And you can see Malaysian governments, Saudi Arabia, and the rest of the governments that you can see here. So that was the whole story. Because I had some limitations in time, so I did my best to talk about the theories and practice. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I hope I could answer all the questions.
Yes, thank you, Farhad. That was very interesting presentation, and we at CSDI didn't aware about Islamic finance and the Sukuk bonds. So we were very happy to hear that from you. So, one question is there any special depository functions Sukuk account in? I see that you mentioned the functions of CSDI, and could you please probably explore a little bit more about that?
If I get the question, correct, as you know, CSDI through that company, I mean, Central Asset Management Company actually takes care of the issuance of Sukuk. You know, if, for example, a company wants to issue Sukuk, okay, for, I don't know, for whatever reason, so they should come to asset management company, and then if they come to asset management company, the asset management company gets the required documents and prepare, you know, the documents, collateral, and manages the collateral and reputation, whatever, and then, you know, it goes to public and issues, okay, if it comes to that. And for depository function for Sukuk accounting, of course, there is a function for Sukuk accounting in CSDI, and if you want, I can connect you to our, you know, people in CSDI for more, you know, data. You have my, you know, email, I think, and they can actually reach me, no problem. And if they want through another platform, I can bring you more people from accounting department and also, you know, financial department in our company to come and answer more questions, detailed questions.
Yes, thank you so much. So there were requests from our participants, and in particular Tajikistani CSD were one of those who were willing to hear about Sukuk. So at this moment, we don't have any other questions, but we will contact you if there will be any. Very interesting presentation. I see the feedback from the audience, so thank you very much. And
thank you.
And you are the great presenter. I should mention that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because we are a Muslim country and we would like to help, you know, people in the world. This is the habit of, you know, Islam. This is the nature of Islam, to help people. So we would be very happy to help other, you know, markets to issue, you know, Sukuk in their markets. We can transfer and exchange our experience if they need. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Excellent. We will rely on your assistance there.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It has been very nice. Thank you.